Would you like to tap into your inner source of healing? This is Robert Manni, host of Guys TV, and this week my special guest is Vibrational Mediator, Patti Conklin. It all starts right here, right now on Guys TV. You can also catch me on my worldwide podcast, Guys Radio, and on KCAA Radio right here in Southern California. Guys TV, Guys Radio, thanks for your support. Okay, Guys Radio. My favorite part of the show is when I have a very special guest, and I do have a very, very special guest today because she is one of the first, she is actually the first kind of a vibrational mediator, if you will, that I've ever worked with. When I started out on Guys Radio about 7 years ago, I talked to Patti Conklin and I did some work with her, and she was very helpful to me, and she's a real angel and she helps a lot of people. And I'm so glad she's on the show because we have a lot to talk about. But let me tell you a little bit about her. She's a vibrational mediator, a teacher, lecturer, radio personality, host of the TV show Healing Within and Adventure Inside on the Binge Network, and author of the book God Within: The Day God's Train Stopped. Patti helps people become insubstantial without transitioning, meaning how do we let go of judgment while we're still alive? You don't have to die to make these improvements, folks. In addition to facilitating health of mind and body, Patti extends her understanding of energy medicine as a keynote speaker, empowering people to take control of their health through a deeper understanding of their thoughts and behaviors, because we do create our own lives. Patti has practiced her distinct style of energy medicine in over 60 countries for over 26 years. I think it's very important to note that she collaborates with Western medicine physicians and has been working as a vibrational mediator for all this time, these 26 years. And she's been called by colleagues, physicians, and clients as one of the best medical intuitives of the 21st century. And she's unique and special, and I love her. So welcome to Guys Radio. Welcome back, Patti Conklin. How you doing?
Thank you so much, Robert, for having me on. It's so good to see you again. You're doing fantastic here on the East Coast.
So let's start right at the beginning for the benefit of our audience who may or may not know too much about you, because you're really special. I don't know anybody, and I've interviewed over 600 people since we last spoke, and I've never met anybody who experiences life and sees the world and works the way you do. So you're a really special person, and you helped me, so thank you. But let's start with a little bit about your background, your unique skill set, and the special way you experience reality for the benefit for our audience.
Thank you so much. I tend to see the world in particles. I love quantum physics and particle theory because that's how I see the world. Just little tiny dots that create into shape, that create into physicalness and becomes matter in my eyesight. I've had it my entire life. I was born with it, but I didn't realize I was different until I was in my 21st year. And then 26th year actually got tested and found that I had a high IQ, but my brain wave was extraordinarily fast. And because I have the brain I have, I'm able to see particles within the body. And, always worked in nonprofit around the world. And then 26 years ago was called by source, God, whatever people want to call it, to start doing my work. And 26 years later, we're still going strong.
So when you see, do you see, I think I recall you mentioning that you see in black and white?
Yes.
Okay. So when you see, like when you walk down the street and you see these particles, do you see that in everything, in trees, in the sidewalk, in people? How do you view the reality?
Yeah, great question. Everything is just grayscale to me in black and white. If you're watching television and the cable goes out on the television and you get the snow, but you can kind of make out the shapes behind it, that's my world 24/7. Wow. So a tree, the sidewalk, I have no depth perception because it's hard without any point of reference to have a depth perception. So I tend to walk holding on to things, because I don't know if there's a step coming up or what have you. So everything to me is in particles. So if I'm given something that I've never seen before, let's say it's a unique item, I have to feel it like a blind person. And once I feel it, then I can put some frame of reference onto the structure and what it looks like. But always mislabeling something because I'm not seeing it the way that you're seeing it. And I've just learned to laugh at myself through the years because, you know, what else are you going to do? You know, I can get a good idea. But if I'm driving, for example, because I don't have depth perception, I see a density of particles coming up. So I know that there's a car there, but I don't know how far away it is. So I will tune in to the body of the driver ahead of me, and I will know that they're going to hit the brake or turn left before it comes into their conscious mind. So my sons have made a big deal through the years of, you know, let us drive and and you not drive. And indeed, if it's raining and it's dark, I can't see anything. Wow. So I have to get a driver. Yeah.
How did you pass the driving test?
I know. And how have I never had an accident at 64
Wow.
years old? I mean, that's kind of but I'm a, you know, I love race car racing. You know, I love getting out on the track and racing and so forth. And my sons are into autocross. And of course, those are little cones that you go around. And I'll walk the track for an hour attempting to memorize the cones because I can't see them. And especially if I'm attempting to go fast, it's a challenge. But in terms of my work with people around the world, it's incredible.
Oh, my special guest on Guys Radio, Patti Conklin, my friend and vibrational mediator. Have you ever met in your 26 years of doing this work, Patti, anybody else who has a similar experience as you have?
No, I've looked because, you know, it can be pretty lonely at times. But you know, there have been amazing people, especially Russia, Romania, where I've met people who have more of an X-ray capability, but they can turn it on and off to when they're working. They don't live it 24/7.
Okay. You help people, you say, become insubstantial without transitioning. How do we let go of judgment while we're still living? What exactly does that mean? Does that mean we create our own realities each and every second, and we can do the work that we need to do here? We don't have to transition, in other words, pass over to really get the full picture of what's going on and what really matters.
That's really it. I mean, people really believe that when they die, you know, they'll become all knowing and, you know, forgive and so forth. And truly, I believe the work that I do is how do I help people shift their perception? You know, perception is everything. And either you're going to have a crap day or you're going to have a good day. And it depends on the perception you give it. Doesn't matter the events that are given to you. It depends upon the emotional response you're going to have to that event. And so you have complete control. You know, there's a saying that I use when I'm teaching. There's no one that can make you feel anger, and there's no one that can make you feel love. Those are emotions that you choose at the time of the event. And because you choose it, you have the choice. Now, I'm not saying, you know, to not value how you feel. I'm not saying not to stand up for yourself. All of those can be done respectfully. But it's your perception as to whether or not you're going to stand in judgment or discernment. Mm-hmm. And those are two really big questions for people, because if we understand, and I think we've really gotten to the point in this world that we do, that emotions create physical events within our body, then how you're perceiving what's taking place from moment to moment in your life is critical to your health.
Great point. Cellular cleansing, for those of the folks out there who have not heard of that, what exactly is it and how long does it last? Before you get into the answer, I want to tell everybody I worked with Patti, and Patti did a cellular cleansing on me, and it seemed like it was very tough for her because she had to take a lot of my garbage and process it through her. And after that, I actually ended up having, I had some other things happen. I had 2 robotic surgeries, which turned out perfectly. And then a couple of years later, I got pneumonia. I picked it up in New York. And then last year, I had an emergency appendectomy that almost killed me. Beyond that, I have to tell you, Patti, I've never felt better than I do right now. Honest to God.
Beautiful, beautiful. I mean, cellular cleansing is something that I developed about 26 years ago. You know, when I was in my late 20s, I had both forms of lupus, and doctors gave me less than 5 years to live. It took out
God.
my right kidney, gave me a couple of heart attacks, ulcerations all over my body, nerve damage. I was in tough shape. And I was shown by source how to do color, what I called color works. And color works was just a process of moving color up through my body. Color, tone, two active frequencies of the universe. As I healed myself from lupus and obviously didn't die, I moved into how can I take the collective of someone's life and help them clean out all of the emotions that they've stuffed into it throughout their life, stuffed into the body, stuffed into the cells in one hit, without them having to regurgitate their life. And that's what cellular cleansing is. It's a series of going into a room, imagining that you're cleaning it just by touching it, and then creating something so phenomenal, fantastic, putting those emotions back into those cells and move on to the next year. And it's really easy for the person who's doing it, but it gets 50 to 70% of all of the blocked emotions in your body out in one hit. So while you have the same memory, you don't have the same emotional hit to it as you did. And, I know a lot of people who've had hard upbringings, they'll look at life and go, well, I'm this way because of the way I was raised. And I'm going, no, you're stuck in this pattern because you have a perception that you need to stay there. Once we get those cells rearranged, then life changes. And it can be as simple as especially when men do cellular, because they're a lot of them are hesitant, they're not as into the spiritual realm, and they'll go, I was at work the other day and something happened that would normally just put me through the roof, and I couldn't find my anger. It was just like, okay, well, it is what it is, and we'll take it from there. And that's where I want people to be, is in that place of surrender, allowing their bodies to heal by getting rid of the emotions that are subconsciously driving the train and creating that train wreck.
Mm-hmm. Well, I can tell everybody, and thank you, Patti, because you helped me, because everything changed after we did our work together, and I had to go through some other experiences that I think were necessary, but it got me, quote unquote, unstuck. And a lot of men do get stuck. They're not, having done this show for a while and speaking to so many different metaphysical teachers and healers and mediators, etc. Men are a little bit more reticent to open up to the spiritual realm, and women aren't, and God bless them for that. But once we started doing the work, it shifted my path. And it shifted how I felt about my body and how I felt about my life. And I had to go through some trauma afterwards, but it was worth it, because each time it kind of tumbled me in a better direction. I actually believe if we did not start with that work, I might not be sitting here with you right now. It's been that big of a change for me. Wow. And I'm very appreciative. And so you do great work. So thank you. When you scan somebody, what can you see and what can you not see when it comes to the state of somebody's health?
Wow, great question. What I see is the density of particles. So if there's a challenge, let's say that somebody, calls me and they're having problems with their liver, test results are off and so forth. When I look at them, their liver may look perfect to me. It may be their adrenals, they're all plugged. And so I'm going to be going, hey, we got to work with the adrenals. And they'll go, but it's my liver that's off. But the core emotion was stuck in the adrenals, shot a little tendril down to the liver because you weren't paying attention to your adrenals, and got things beginning in the liver. And so, it's really, when I look at someone, two things happen, Robert. It's kind of, and this is the scary part for people, but I really want them to understand that A, I don't go into judgment with it, and B, I'm not going to analyze it. But there's a moment when I first work with someone that I kind of see the compilation of their entire life. And so I'll know in a heartbeat, if there was a traumatic event at age 7, then by golly, I'm going to focus in on age 7 when we're doing a cellular. So there's this compilation of everything that's happened in their life. And so I'm not going to go, well, this happened to you. I'll be saying, hey, let's talk about life growing up. What was it for you? And allow the person to then take it from there, what they want to share with me, what they don't want to share with me. I may know what's going on, but it's up to them as to whether or not they want to share. Then you see the compilation instantaneously of the blockages within the body and where we need to work. So like I said, a lot of times where people are having pain isn't the actual place where the emotions are blocked. It's somewhere else in their body. And so it's a, people will say, well, do we need an hour to talk over what's going on? No, it's instantaneous for me.
Amazing. What's your relationship with spirit now? What was explained to you, and are you guided while you're doing your work in each and every day? Do you have ascended masters or teachers that work with you? Is it Jesus? Is it spirit, the universal energy, or what is it inside? Or is it just that divine spark that's inside of you and everybody else?
Yeah, that divine spark. For me, it's when I was 7, I had what I call a visitation, and we were not a church family. We were a pretty dysfunctional family, but I had a visitation. I was told 3 things: that 38 to 42 would be my greatest growth years. 42 to 62 would be my greatest contribution to mankind, and that I could come home then if I so chose. And the purpose of my walk was to teach people to become insubstantial without transitioning. And I think for me, life did right before my 38th birthday. I had another visitation from what I call Father. And I look at that as God. I don't work with ascended masters. I don't work with angels. It's God that directs my path. And in whatever that means, I just say Father. But right before my 38th birthday, I was told to move to Georgia and fully begin walking my path. I didn't have to advertise. The first person told 10 people, and the next 10 people told another 10 people. And it just, the last 26 years hasn't been about a marketing gig. It's been about word of mouth around the world. And I think for me, there are times when Father will come in when I'm working with someone and say, I want you to fully take their, excuse me, I want you to fully take their disease. And in that moment, this bizarre, funky thing happens, and a hole just kind of feels like it's opening up in the palm of my hand, and I will suck that disease out, and they will be disease-free. Those are the rarities, but they do happen. Occasionally, I'll get, it's not right for you to work with this person, send them to someone else. And so, but other than that, unless I'm given a specific, then I use the skill set that I've been given. When I was heading up to my 62nd birthday, it was a serious conversation between my sons and I, going, hey, I got these awesome grandbabies, and, but I'm tired. I'll be just as happy to move on to the next adventure. And they were like, whatever you feel you need to do. So I was kind of disappointed when I woke up on the morning of my 63rd birthday going, well, okay, now what do I do? And now that, I've gone through 64, just had my 64th birthday, I realized that every day is a blessing for me now. I'm doing more fun things for me. I'm still working full time, but doing more, TV shows and radio shows, podcasts, and so forth. But I'm doing more fun things for me. I just got back from France, and that was awesome, and had a beautiful trip, just kind of following the steps of Mary Magdalene and the women of the Bible. And so, for me, it's Father. It's my Father. I don't have to call on anyone. It's always there.
When you had the visitation, Patti, how did that occur? Did you get was it telepathic? Did you have a vision? Were you in a dream state? Were you in meditation? What happened?
So Father always comes to me in waking state. And so my first one when I was 7 was this beautiful white mist coming through my bedroom wall. And I remember falling to my knees, not because I was scared, but because it was so serene, there was nothing else to do. And then I hear it as an auditory. And so that's kind of how I work as well, right? Is I'm looking at the body, I'm looking at these particles, but the body is speaking to me. So it's really this tandem visual auditory when I'm working, and it's the same if I'm receiving a visitation from Father.
When after we had worked together, a few months after that, and I let you know about it, that I had to get robotic surgery on each kidney. Looking back, I believe that you helped clear things out so that could be found, actually,
Mhm.
because it was an accidental. It was how I basically saved my life in that. I was running, I had tremendous pain. I had to go in and get a ultrasound. They found a kidney stone, which disappeared when they went to take it out. It was gone, which was amazing. And then I had to get robotic surgery on each kidney. It turned out to be perfect, but I believe that that was necessary, and that because I got kind of cleared out, that I could be found, and that charted me in a specific direction. And while I was waiting for each surgery, I used your color works, and also the forgiveness pool, and they were
Yeah,
incredibly helping with me in that. They measured one of the growths I had, and it had shrunk. It didn't shrink enough. They wanted to take it out. I'm like, sure. But
right.
everything went fine. It plopped right out. But I did color works after our work together every single day prior to the procedure. And then I also did forgiveness pool just to get all of that negative emotion and resentment out of my system going forward for the rest of my life. So first of all, thank you, thank you, thank you. And secondly, please tell everybody about what ColorWorks is, how it works, and also then maybe we can talk about the forgiveness pool.
Yeah, thank you. So ColorWorks is really simple. And for people who aren't critically ill, I won't see them more than 3 times. My feeling is if I begin the steps to tell you where your issue is, you can take it from there. ColorWorks is a very simple 15-minute meditation, and it's asking your body, what color do I need to? Now, maybe that's remove a disease, maybe that's increase confidence by 80%, whatever question you ask it, and you breathe in through your nose and you bring that color in through the bottom of your feet, straight up your body and out your mouth. The misperception that people have is that it needs to be white or purple or green, these healing colors. Those colors make us feel fantastic, and that's great. However, it's the blacks, the browns, the rust, the heavier, deeper colors that actually shake your cell so violently that it releases the emotion that's stuck in there. So the darker the color, if you're sick, the darker the color, the better the work. And it's just a process of moving that up for 4 or 5 minutes and taking, break, doing some white light throughout your entire body, and then asking your body to rebalance. What color do you need to rebalance? Which could be a rainbow, 2 or 3 colors, just one color. Really depends on what your body needs in that moment. But this is where the differentiation comes in. People talk a lot about the auric field, the exterior field. We're not working there. We're working within your cells. And when you take an emotion out of your cell, you've got these quadrillion cells in your body. You take out one emotion from one cell, you're changing the balance inside of your body of that frequency. And so having to fully rebalance your body is a necessity. Get up, walk around for a couple of minutes, give your body time. So, where ColorWorks work is different than a lot of Reiki or healing touch, therapeutic touch. They're fantastic modalities, but they're not getting at the same depth that we are in cells. And ColorWorks is that simple. And people want it to be hard, right? They're like, there's got to be more to it. And it's like, no, I think the more simple you make it, the better the result.
And
And
you know
that
what?
people do it themselves, right?
And that's one of the amazing things about working with you, Patty, is that you have these tools that people need to use to work on themselves, because it can't just be being with you all the time. They have to work on themselves because they're going to live their lives. So the color works super effective. And then you had the process called the forgiveness pool I want to touch on, because to me, this is it's a platform, if you will, a modality of meditation that can help anybody, because all of us have some type of resentment about getting screwed over by other people, and you end up carrying that around and it becomes a heavy weight. So talk to us about forgiveness pool, Patty. It really helped me. Thank you.
Beautiful. Healing pools is part of a process. The forgiveness pool is part of the healing pools, but forgiveness pool is so critical because it's not about who did what, right? It's really about what are you still holding within your body that's stopping you from moving forward. because tell you, get a lot of resentment in there, a lot of inability to forgive, and your body doesn't flow. It just stops. And so the process of the forgiveness pool is really cool in that you don't think of anyone. You just stand in the pool and you wait for people to walk up to you. And you touch the water and you touch their forehead, giving forgiveness, and you touch your own forehead, receiving forgiveness, and they disappear and the next person's up. But the first person you work with is yourself. And it's giving forgiveness to yourself and receiving forgiveness, because gosh, we're hard on ourselves. If we're overachievers, we're hard on ourselves because we're not being perfectionists. And if we're underachievers, we're hard on ourselves because we feel like we should have some more motivation. Hardly anyone is balanced. And so, it's just really important to be able to get into the forgiveness pool on a daily basis. And there's people that have done this pool 26 years ago who still do it as a daily process, especially if they've been hard on themselves. If they especially said, I really screwed that up. Well, no, you know what? Look in the mirror every night. If you look in the mirror and say, I lived my life today in integrity and honesty, you know what? That's all that matters, is you lived your life in integrity and honesty, and everything else you did during that course of the day is perfect.
Beautifully stated. Patti Conklin, my special guest on Guys Radio. Her book is Patti Conklin's God Within, The Day God's Train Stopped. We're talking about all things in terms of vibrational mediation and working with ourselves to heal ourselves, because we do have to have some control over our lives. You can't just wait for somebody else to do it for you. One of the things I love about your work, Patti, is that you collaborate with Western medicine. And I think that's important for everybody to hear. And I want you to talk about that because, I'm a big believer in Ayurvedic, alternative medicine, holistic healing, the proper diet. But I also know that when Western medicine, hey, I had to have robotic surgery. I had it. It worked. I never looked back. I had to take medicine for antibiotics for pneumonia. I did it. It worked. I had an emergency appendectomy. I did it. It worked. I had to take antibiotics afterwards for gangrene. It knocked that out. So it's a balancing act, and the modalities should work together. What are your thoughts on that, and how do you work with Western physicians, and how do they take to what you're doing?
Oh, it's always fun when I'm working with a new doctor. The body needs both. I mean, that's the basics. The body needs both. There's not a practitioner out there who can 100% tell you exactly what's going on in your body. It's just not there. And if they tell you you need to get up and walk out and find a different practitioner. We've got incredible diagnostic equipment. And the reason we have incredible diagnostic equipment is to bring it with that Eastern medicine. So, I may get somebody who calls and says, doctors have given me 6 months to live, and, I really need your help. Honestly, 80% of the time, I'll look at that person and say, your doctor's right. Your doctor's right. Now, how can I help you move out of the fear of dying? How can I can easily take your pain, manage that, but how do I make you peaceful about crossing? But 20% of the time I'll look at them and, I think your doctor's missed something. Why don't you give me his phone number? Give me permission to talk to him. And so, you're a charlatan, this is bogus, just whatever name calling you can imagine. And my response is always the same. Thank you so much for sharing how you feel. Now, can we move on to the patient and talk about it? And so doctors have said throughout the last 26 years, the reason I'm believable is because I don't get defensive. I don't get offended at what they're saying. I don't get defensive. I tell them very clearly and concisely what's going on and why I think they need to reevaluate the patient. And because I'm reasonable and I am talking their language, they'll look again. And once they look again, they're like, dang, didn't see that. You're right. And they shift protocol and the patient lives and we continue to work through things. So, I think it really has been helpful to hundreds of doctors around the world, whether I'm working with them, cardiologists in Istanbul and helping them understand the human energy field. Their scan may show that they're clear, but their body isn't. And so, it's helping them understand that while the scan may show something, it may be flawed. And conversely, it may be perfect. But if a woman calls me and says, I found a tumor in my breast, and, do I have cancer? My response is going to be, go get a mammogram and come back and talk to me, because whether or not it's a mass, let's see what diagnostic has to say. And then we'll take it from the next step. But again, I know the power of words and the power that people believe in. And we've seen it throughout the world when people start following people and just do everything they say. I mean, it's not what we're meant to do. And so it's a matter of, if I said to that woman, you know what, I see some dark, energy, blocked energy, and yeah, it looks kind of hard, and maybe you do have cancer. If they didn't have cancer when they called me, they'll have cancer by the time they hang up. And that's the power that we give in belief. And I think that people really need, as a practitioner, you need to be responsible. And as a human being, you need to be responsible in terms of what do you believe. And the diagnostic at least gives us something to look at, where we can say, we can clearly see this, what's the emotion that's blocking that, and where do we move from there?
Beautifully stated. And I think one of the reasons why you're so successful in what you do is that you're a real person, Patti, and you are practical, as well as having these very special gifts that you have. And I think that really makes a difference. And so that's great to hear. Let's talk a little bit about intuition, because you mentioned that the importance of our intuition, and the fact that people can develop intuition. How can we do that, Patti?
Yeah, listen to yourself. Take your first gut reaction. So critical. We can talk ourselves out of anything. But even with me, I get my first gut reaction. I follow it through, may not make any sense to me, but I'll do it anyways. And that doesn't mean that I won't spend the next 3 days looking at why I just did what I did. But your intuition, everybody has it. There's nothing that I do that you can't do. And every single person on this planet. I've fine-tuned it, I've honed it, I've worked with it, but intuition is inside of all of us. And we use different terms for it. CEOs will use their gut instinct, their gut instinct on which way to take the corporation, gut instinct on where to move, our gut instinct, this feels right. That's all intuition. That's all your body's telling you what the next step is. And remember, your body can only store truth, and your information comes through your forms of communication. So really pay attention to how you speak. If your primary form of communication is visual, and then a lot of people is auditory and then kinesthetic, understand your intuition comes through your form of intuition. So if you're visual, you'll get visual intuition. If you're verbal, you'll hear it. If you're kinesthetic, you're going to feel it. And so pay attention to, and if you don't know, record yourself having a conversation with a family member for 5 minutes, and you'll hear those key words. I hear what you're saying. Yeah, I feel you. Yep. I see what you're saying. And those words will start telling you what your primary form of communication is. And then you can take it a step further and understand how your intuition is coming through the same way.
Let's kick that up a notch, Patti, because you
Okay.
also talk about a big issue for a lot of people is they're not really following the life path that was meant to be for them, that might bring them more joy, etc. How, using intuition and the feeling and in your body, how can you kind of test yourself to see if you're on your right path or not?
Yeah, great question. And there is no right path. there's 10,000 different paths, right? And if the path you're walking is too hard, change your perception and the path changes, right? Change your perception. Be willing to go outside your box into things that you never would have dreamt that you'd go for before. And understand your perception is everything. If you perceive you've got a brick wall in front of you, then guess what? You've got a brick wall in front of you. If you perceive that that brick wall is dissipating or you can go around it, then go around it. So it's truly listening to yourself. If you're miserable, it's not about what somebody else did to you. If you're miserable, it's what do I need to do to change my perception of this life that I have in order for me to change where I am. And I think that, it sounds simplistic, but it is simplistic.
It seems to me that we have to be careful when we do that. And correct me if I'm wrong, Patty, that it shouldn't be all mental. It has to be feeling also. That space between the heart and the mind is like the greatest distance, and it's only about 5 inches. Is that so? And how can we listen more to our heart versus just analyzing and being all left brain about everything?
Yeah,
Right.
so true. So true. It's really about, I'm going to make this decision, right? I'm going to switch life. I bought this tiny 1,000 square foot cabin, and it was right for me. And my sons were saying, no, 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 because, blah, 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 all their reasonings, until they saw it. And they went, this is perfect for you. So I downsized into this tiny studio, is, the smallest room in the house. And it's like, it's fine. I got my studio. When it feels right, whether or not it makes logical sense to you, if your gut instinct is to do it and you think it through, it doesn't make any logical sense, but your body is at peace, that's when you're on the right step. If you feel like you've had an intuitive thought and you're thinking it through and you're attempting to be logical about it and your body's feeling heavy and dragging, it's not the right step. You overanalyzed it. You didn't let the true intuition come in. If you had said to me 7 years ago, or 6 years ago, Patty, 6 years from now, you're going to be living in a tiny 1,000 square foot cabin at 30 feet from the lake, I'd be going, why would I be doing that? And yet it's an incredible space to be and live out these years. So, it's always feeling your body. Close your eyes. And there's a big difference in how we logically look at things. If we leave our eyes open, we're staying in our left brain. We're logically thinking through it. If we close our eyes and go into our body, then our body, pay attention. It's either going to feel heavy or it's going to feel light. And you play the detective. Is this the right step for me? If your body feels light, say yes. If your body feels heavy, no. That doesn't mean throw away the whole plan. It means go to step 2. Should I do it this way?
I've got to think
your body respond.
Okay. I've got to think that people, like, meditation can help in that, because everybody's got so much on their mind, particularly these days, that you need to get into a calm state where you can begin to trust that first notion that comes to you. I'll give you an example. I started meditating and asking for guidance, and for a while I wasn't sure, like, am I thinking this? Am I talking to myself? And now what happens is, when I ask, what do I need to know today? This first thing, before I can even think that thought through, I'm getting some type of an answer. And it may be something very simple, like you're loved, or keep going, or as simple as that. But it feels like I'm really connecting with spirit, because nothing's getting in the way. My thoughts aren't getting in the way. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. And I really encourage you to continue with that. And for people out there, listening and paying attention to their intuition and meditative, my philosophy is this: we shouldn't have to sit for a half hour in order to be in touch with our body. We should be jumping between our left and right hemispheres, moment to moment, so that you can get that gut instinct and trust it and move forward with it. Driving down the highway, do I go straight or do I take this right hand turn and go the back way? Your body will tell you in an instant. So it's practicing, not making your meditation times longer, but actually making them shorter, so that you are living in the moment, from moment to moment, between your intuition and your logic.
with that in mind, Patti, and we're getting close on time, but I want to ask this, and that is, people are very anxious these days, and whether it's manifesting or trying to make things happen, they never, not, I'm not, I shouldn't, let me correct myself. It's not that they never, but people have a tendency to expect things to happen a certain way. And I think a lot of folks, including myself, we have a problem, not just receiving, but allowing. Could you talk to us a little bit about that? Does that make sense?
It's so true. It's so true. Stop the expectations because they're never going to happen the way you expect them to, right? So just stop the expectation. Move into any situation with an openness of, I'm going to let this flow. I'm going to see what happens here. I think that when people have an expectation that other people are going to come through for them or other people are going to help them handle this, it's not that I want you to be isolatory. It's not that at all. Just understand that what their path may be is not going to be identical to yours because all of us are on different paths. And so I think the anxiousness is understanding you have full control of what's happening with you. And that full control of what's happening to you allows you to take that deep breath. And, yes, ask for help, but be willing to receive the help. And sometimes we get very stuck in that situation. We have an expectation that things are going to play out A, B, C. If they didn't play out in the past, they're not going to play out in the future. So set your goal, set the goal, and then allow life to flow towards your goal instead of making our traditional 1, 2, 3s.
Got it. Wow. Powerful stuff. Patti Conklin, my special guest on Guys Radio. Her book is God Within: The Day God's Train Stopped. Patti, I know you've got a lot of events coming up beyond your personal training. Tell everybody about where they can learn more about you and what you have in store.
Oh, thank you. Just patticonklin.com, and Patti's with an I, PattiConklin.com. You can go to the website, you can call our offices, you can register for different trainings and events. And we've got free lectures going on all the time. And so get in and get to know the work. There's a lot of free materials out there. Begin to see if it resonates with you. If it doesn't, there's lots of awesome teachers out there. But if it resonates, then move forward towards it. And you can always call our offices at 404-474-0086 and talk to Sandra and see if any of the services we have are of interest. Fantastic.
Well, listen, Patti, you're the best. You helped me. You were one of my first kind of metaphysical teachers, healers, quote unquote healers, vibratory teachers, etc., mediators, whatever you need to call yourself to get through the system here. But you really helped me, and I consider you a friend and an angel. So thank you so much for being on Guys Radio, and all the best to you, Patti.
Thank you so much for having me.
Enjoy the guests and content we bring you each and every week to Guys Radio, and please support us by subscribing to our channels. Thank you.